to handling customer objections. This is a brief session and we would try and cover only the part of customer objections in this particular seminar. So, very quickly, in our world in sales, we call an objection a showstopper. And why do we call it a showstopper? Because as sales guys, we go out in the world and we get in sales, we get in deals, we get in events. And for each of this, we actually create a series of meetings and discussions with our customers. While this happens and while this flow is on and our show is on and the entire sequence is on, and we are in a streak of moving from one successful meeting to another successful meeting, from meeting one customer stakeholder to another customer stakeholder, any one of the buyers within the customer's world can put up an objection. And that objection then becomes our showstopper. Anything that can object or create an impact or a movement in my buying process or can threaten my sale, we call that a showstopper. Now, a quick question to each one of you. In this entire, let's assume one sales call, right? In a sales call, typically we open a call, we discover customer needs, we demonstrate our capability of what we can do, and then we close the call. In this cycle, in this particular sales call, where do you think a customer objection or a customer may express a concern? Who can help me? Yes, it could be, thank you so much, Amit, it could be at demonstrating capability. We have observed many a times that when we are demonstrating capability, when we are talking about our products and services, a customer say, hey, that's not right, or I don't agree with it, or I have a better solution. That's right. Sagar, you're right too. It could be at an initial stage as well. Very, very early on in the meeting, a customer can throw an objection at me. That's right. Anybody else? Any other phase? Closure. You're right too, Lakshya. Thank you so much. It can also happen at closure. And there you go, Piyush, you guessed it. It can happen at any stage, even at negotiation stage, even in the selling cycle at the early stages of qualification or later stages of closure. What we say is that negotiation can appear at any phase in the selling process until you have closed the deal. You can get objections anywhere. Now, it's a good idea if you get them early on. It gets dangerous for your own deal, your own pot of gold, as it comes later in the selling cycle. So any salesperson with great experience would tell you that it's always good if a buyer is giving me objections early on. I can prepare for it. I can prepare a better value proposition for it. I can understand it. But if it comes at the later stages in my sale, that is when it is negotiating or when I'm closing a deal, right? If objections arise, it can get difficult. And you're right. Sometimes objections can even come at the delivery time when I'm delivering a product. So objections can come anytime in a sales process, during a sales call, or even close to closing. Now, sales guys, right? We love if a customer is all good to us, nice to us, talking to us, shares openly their needs. But when an objection arises, it takes us a step back. We have to think, okay, this is not an easygoing customer. And I have to deal with this customer differently. And you're right about it. Every objection has to be dealt differently. According to our research and study, largely there are four types of customer objections. We have skepticism, we have misunderstanding, we have indifference, and we have drawback. Who can help me understand what's a skepticism? Anybody? You can even unmute and tell me. Who can help me understand what is a skepticism? A preconceived notion. And that preconceived notion and Arsh leads to what? Okay, they're not sure about the need or the pain, or the seller is not sure about the need or the pain. Anything else? Doubts. That's right. Doubts about the value they will get. That's right. Thank you so much, Piyush. Thank you so much, Yash. A bias. Yes, Manish. Thank you. A skepticism is a disbelief that or a doubt in the mind of the customer. In simple words, it's too good to be true. They don't believe what we are either saying or what we are talking about our capabilities or services. It's too good to be true, right? What is a misunderstanding? A misunderstanding is simple. It's a misinformation. What's an indifference? Who can help me understand indifference? What's an indifference? Why would a customer have indifference?
When either we are not able to basically explain the product properly, or the customer is not able to understand what we are saying.
Possibly, Laksha. Um, and thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else would like to add to Laksha as well? They
Sagar this
don't think
side.
they need the product. Thanks, Mukesh. Yes?
Sagar this side. To me, indifference would be something customer is pursuing. Like he might be having some like image of some other brand, and we are trying to sell him other brand, but he just comparing with the image what he is having in his mind. And
Possibly, that's right. Thanks, Sagar. Thanks. So, yes, Nitin, to some extent, not interested. Indifference usually arises from customers who are either not aware of what they want or they're already happy with their current services or their current supplier. That's when an indifference would arise. And a drawback is something that they want and I can't give, right? So that's a drawback. So an indifference is when a need of a customer, the customer is completely unaware of the need. You think the customer needs this. You think your products or solutions can definitely support the customer in bettering their productivity, bettering their image, bettering their revenue, saving costs. But they don't think because they think that they don't have that problem in the first place. Or they have an existing supplier who's doing that for them, right? So that's indifference. Skepticism, as you all rightly said, it's a doubt, it's a disbelief. Now, quick question to each one of you. When would a customer have skepticism, or why would customer have skepticism?
mostly when he know about his requirement, or he know what the solution would might look like. He is
Okay,
aware about his problem and the possible solution.
so that's when they will have skepticism, Sagar, you say?
Yes.
Okay. Better served by past experience. Thanks, Alicia. So yes, one of the reason could be past experience, or as Sagar says, they know their solution. Sometimes it's also because they have never seen such a state of the art solution or a state of the art product, right? Many a times in our experience, we have seen a skepticism usually arises because the seller did oversell. overselling of features by a seller or the selling organization will create a skepticism in the minds of the customer. Something is wrong somewhere. That's what they would think, right? Misunderstanding. Where do you think a misunderstanding arises from? Alicia, you have actually kind of close to that part actually. A misunderstanding arises from past experience, right? Either the buyer themselves have experienced our product in the past, or they know somebody who has experienced our product or solutions or services in the past. And because they trust that person, they believe in this misunderstanding. Okay? A drawback. A drawback is something that they genuinely want. A typical drawback is price, isn't it? That they want at a lesser price or a reduced price. And my organization cannot give at a reduced price. And that's what we call as a drawback. Now, here are some typical examples of indifference, right? A customer says, we already use a company like yours and we are very happy with their services. This you may even get on a phone call when you're trying to reach the customer, or they could write back to you as an email. So that is one way of doing that, right? So that means the time you entered the opportunity, you just missed the bus. A customer could be indifferent because they just upgraded their systems and it seems to be doing a great job, right? Sometimes they will say that I agreed to meet with you just because my manager suggested it, but it is not a priority for me. So you went through somebody's reference and the manager suggested, and that's why they met you. But having said that, it is not a priority for that department or that division. And the next one, of course, is they're saying, sorry, we are not looking for anything in that area right now. As you can see, indifference can actually arise very early in the sales calls as well. Very early on, may not be at the later stages. The customer can stop your show right in the beginning as well. Yeah. So that's an indifference. So that's one demon to deal with. The other one, just guys, hold on 1 minute. Yeah. I apologize. There was a background noise. I want to correct it. So there are a few other examples here. Now, this part, I want you to identify what's a skepticism, what's a misunderstanding, and what's a drawback here. Okay, let's take, for example, the first one. I hear you, but can you really reduce our maintenance cost by 15%? What do you think it is? Skepticism, misunderstanding, or a drawback? That's what you're saying is a drawback? Okay. Mukesh says skepticism. Anybody else? Jacob says skepticism. Arsh says skepticism. It's negotiation. Nitin, do you like negotiation? Utkarsh says skepticism. It is skepticism, right? When a customer expresses disbelief, it is skepticism. So the first statement is a skepticism. Second one, we are looking for someone who can provide us with a customized solution at no extra cost. What do you think this is?
Linnet, we have an answer from LinkedIn as well. Dave, who has joined on LinkedIn, says if it's on price, then it's a drawback. And
it's a drawback.
Yeah, and Anubali says capital amount.
Okay. So the first one is actually skepticism because it's about overall reducing their maintenance cost, right? But the second one, you're right, Yash, right? It is a drawback. They want customization, and customization from your organization, ideally you would have to charge them extra, but they're not willing to give you at an extra price, and that becomes a drawback, right? The third one, sorry, I've tried your products in the past and there is a high error rate on this product. That's right, Laksh. Misunderstanding. Equin says drawback. Mohammad says drawback. Victor says drawback. Now there is a context to it. If genuinely the error rate is high, then it would become a drawback. Is that correct? Having said that, what has this person tried in the past? And that time the error rate was high. And now you have upgraded. And therefore the error rate is not high. Then what would it become? A misunderstanding. So there is a two-part to it. If genuinely you've done nothing about it, and the customer is right, your product has a high error rate, then let's say, for example, your company is into an equipment that produces results, test results, and your equipment has a high error rate, and they've tried it in the past and they say, I cannot because it's a high capital asset product. So if it's a high capital asset product, I cannot go about buying this because it is a high error rate. Then it is genuinely a drawback. But let's say, for example, this customer tried your product when you all were new entrants in the market with that product, and you all were still in the testing phase of the product. And now over a period of time, taking customer feedback, this product has evolved and the error rate has gone down. Then it purely becomes a misunderstanding. Does that make sense? So far? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, Linnet. So talking about LinkedIn, Praveen Prajapati has got the first and second points right, where he has mentioned drawback and misunderstanding. And we received another comment from Sai, for the first point, which meant that if the product is way too exaggerated than other products in the market, then of course it is misunderstanding again.
Correct. That's right. Thank you so much, Yesh. Okay, last one. We have never heard of anyone who can deliver, who has same-day delivery. What do you think? Mahesh, you think it's a misunderstanding? The last one? Skepticism. Nitin, how come you didn't say negotiation this time? Skepticism. Yeah, you guys got it right? Smart students, that's right. Generally, if your company does provide same-day delivery, that because maybe you all have warehouses very close to the market, and also you'll have a great logistics supply partner, because of which y'all do guarantee a same-day delivery to any customer at any location within that zone, within that territory, within that district. But the customer has never seen it before, and they find it too good to be true. So that's when we call it a skepticism. Now, which few of these objections you think, according to you, in your experience, it's easier to handle? Which ones? Skepticism, misunderstanding, drawback, indifference. Which ones are easier to handle? Misunderstanding. Amit, why do you think misunderstanding is easier to handle?
Because you can clarify those misunderstanding, right? There is a very logical way to address if there is misunderstanding by providing some factual information.
That's right, because it is something that you genuinely do, right? You'll have that solution. So just give the right information and it's easier to handle. Depend which is the buyer that you're talking to. But yes. Any other? Any other? Only misunderstanding? So the easiest one to handle is misunderstanding. The second one to handle is skepticism. The two which are equal par to handle, both which are very difficult to handle, is indifference and drawback. And in both places, Your skills as a seller comes into picture. It's not about your organization. It's your skills as a seller. If you have great selling skills, if your effectiveness as a seller, if your ability to build strategy and understand the buyers is better, you can actually overcome indifference and drawback. And that's when the selling skills comes into perspective. Skepticism and misunderstanding are somewhat easier to handle. You have to manage it. We'll tell you the skill sets, but they are easier to handle, right? Okay, let's look at the steps to handle them. The steps are simple. 4 steps again. You can also remember them as ARC, AARC, ARC, right? First step is to acknowledge. Second step is to ask and uncover. Third step is to respond and resolve. And the fourth step is to check for agreement. They look easy, but they are very different for different objections, right? Some, it can get easy. Some, it can get tricky. Some, you will never proceed. Now, let's go back to one of the situation, right? The customer says, I am currently very happy with the services I am getting. I have to acknowledge this. It's a showstopper for you. You don't like to hear this. But the customer is saying, I am very happy with the solutions I am getting right now. It's an indifference, right? The customer is giving you right at the beginning. How would you do that? How would you acknowledge? Research has said an average seller would start to defend their product. So customer says, I'm very happy with my solution. An average seller says, oh, but you should try our product. Customer says, I don't want to try your product. So an average seller will start to defend the product. But a great seller, a seller with great selling skills, knows that the customer has a right to express their objection, right to express their concern. They have the right. And therefore, they respect what the customer said. And that's why the first step is acknowledge. Because acknowledgement is purely respect. Having said that, it's very difficult to acknowledge. The customer says, I'm already very happy with the solutions I am getting. Immediate reaction is okay, but, or I understand, but, oh, I'm glad for you, but. So there's always a but, right? It's difficult. So here's the skill step. You simply acknowledge the customer's objection. You could say, thank you for sharing this information with me. It's good to know that you are happy with the services you are getting. Just good to know, right? That is one of the ways you can say that. After the acknowledgement, you take a pause. You do not say but or however, right? You take a pause. The idea of this pause is to give you time to go into the next step, that is ask and uncover. So then you ask and uncover. Now for each of the objection, the question you ask could be different. For indifference, this customer is already very happy with the services they are getting. Is that correct? So what does as a seller I want to uncover? What are they getting as services? What are the services they're getting, right? I don't know their world. I want to know their world, right? So first I ask permission. That is, it's okay, can I ask you a few questions? After that, I say, could you help me understand what are some of the services you're currently getting? Now, the customer may either say a yes, or a customer might say a no, I don't want to share. which is perfectly fine. Remember, an indifferent customer is difficult to convert, right? So in that case, what do you do? If you're, one second, I'm so sorry. So in that case, what you do is, if an indifferent customer says no, you still say thank you. You say, I respect your time. You can give them some information about what's happening in the market or a trend analysis. Leave with respect. If the customer says, yes, I can give you information, what is the idea of asking questions to an indifferent customer? So that you can uncover if there is a gap in their levels of satisfaction. That's the goal. The goal when you're asking an indifferent customer question is to identify if there is a possible potential gap.
Linnet, on LinkedIn, we have a statement from Praveen Prajapati saying that what if we provide an alternate offer in a difficult time that they're facing?
Thanks. So Praveen, I agree. If it is an existing customer, okay, and you have done that, it's great. If it's a customer who has been indifferent all throughout, and if proactively you are giving it as a solution and the customer accepted it, that means you matched exactly their need. Having said that, sometimes with indifferent customers, what happens is if they have difficult times, they will not reach out to you, right? They will reach out to their existing supplier, not to you. If you're their existing supplier, that's right, they will reach out to you. But if you're not, they will go to their whom they already trust. Indifference actually showcases lack of trust. So our line of questions is largely because I want to build trust with an indifferent customer. So the series of questions I ask an indifferent customer, a few more, till I get to the point to identify if there is a potential gap that I can service. That's the kind of questions I will ask an indifferent customer. If there is skepticism, I usually want to know where are the reasons for this doubt. Why are they doubting this? Right? If it is a misunderstanding, my questions are to find out the source of this information. Because now you may say, if it is a misunderstanding, then why have to find out the source? Now, sometimes genuinely, let's say you're a large organization. Okay? In certain regions, your upgraded solution is available. And in certain regions, your upgraded solution is not available. So it can become a misunderstanding only in those regions where a service is available. And in those other regions, it's not a misunderstanding, right? So the source. Secondly, sometimes your company has grades of products, right? Based on pricing strategy, there is gradation in the product. A customer in the past or their source in the past has used a product based on the commercials they agreed on. This company you're talking on is talking about a different grade of product. So you would resolve the misunderstanding once you understand the source of the information, because then you only and only talk about that part of it. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Moving on to drawback. Now, ideally, I have to give you a disclaimer here. It's not that when if I don't overcome a drawback, I lose the deal. If I don't overcome a drawback, it can go into, Nitin, what's your favorite one? If I don't overcome a drawback, I go into negotiation, right? If I don't overcome a drawback, it can go into negotiation agreement. But I attempt to resolve the drawback, because sometimes I don't have to negotiate all the elements, right? I can attempt to resolve it and then possibly go into negotiation. Having said that, typically a customer may have a drawback on, let's say, pricing, or they can have a drawback on saying delivery. that I want delivery in 3 weeks, your company cannot give in 3 weeks. Or they can have a timeline on number of resources you are deploying. They want 10 resources to be deployed. You are saying we can deploy 5 resources who are more effective. A customer could have a drawback on, let's say, for example, terms and conditions, credit period. There could be many such things, right? Whenever you want, you have to first understand this drawback priority, number 1, number 2, number 3. That means how much important it is in the deal for them. Because if price is number 1 priority, then you can't overcome it. That they will still, it's important to them. But if quality is a higher priority, or deadline is a bigger priority, then you can overcome it, understanding the other needs. You cannot overcome a drawback if you have not uncovered other needs in a given deal. Every deal may have 2 or 3 needs of a customer. But if you have not uncovered them, you cannot overcome a drawback. You've only uncovered one need, that is only a drawback. Typically, it will go into a negotiation process. Clear? So, going back to the point, this is just the step 2. Remember, first step is acknowledge. A customer says, can you really deliver on the same day? I understand where you're coming from. Many of our customers have similar doubts. If it's okay with you, I would like to understand the reason for the disbelief, the skepticism, right? A customer says, in the past, we have used your product, there's a lot of error rate. Yes, I agree with you. In the past, we did have an error rate. Could you help me understand, where is this information coming from? Or, have you tried our service in the past, or somebody else whom you know has tried our services? Accordingly, I can help you understand this better. Your price is too high. It's 10 times higher than the next proposal or the quote we have. Price is an important factor for any decision making. I would like to understand how much of a price is priority right now compared to the other needs you have discussed with us. You see that? I acknowledged and I asked a quick question. Same thing for indifference, right? Customer says, I'm very happy with my existing supplier. It's lovely to know that you are happy with the services you are getting. I'm not validating the competitor. I'm just saying I'm very happy to know that you're getting. If it's okay with you, I would like to ask you a few questions about what are the current services. Maybe I can provide you some suggestions that can help you. Right? I am simply asking the first question to ease this customer in. That's my job as a seller. Remember, human psychology. They don't like me or they have an objection with me. If I start defending, they will start defending. So I'm not defending. I'm not. I'm respecting. I'm valuing them through acknowledgement. I'm saying, if it's okay with you, I want to ask you a question. I ask a question to see if they slowly open up to answer a question. Fine? Building trust. Building trust. Any questions so far?
So, Linnet, I had a question. So, what if you have no proof or something to resolve the skepticism? So, how would you proceed?
Sure, Alicia, thank you so much. I was going to come to resolving indifference. So one of the ways to resolve indifference is to provide a proof. But what if you don't have a proof, right? What do you do? If you have a reference of a customer, right, where you have done some work, you can provide that reference. But if you have no proof, if you have no reference, another good idea is to take somebody from your research team, somebody from your application team, somebody from your design team, who are actually working on these products and solutions to talk to the customer. Because they may not believe the seller, but they may believe somebody at the back end working on the product and solution. So make somebody else the face, and that can help. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So let's move on to the third step. The third step is to resolve the concern. In indifference, I would offer a solution. Like I think Praveen on LinkedIn had mentioned, right? What if I offer a solution to the customer that specifically addresses their pain point? At this juncture, you can do it. At the third step, after I've asked you questions, checking if what the pain is, and now I am giving them a solution. At this juncture, I can definitely do that. Right? If for a skepticism, Alicia had preempted my question. So in skepticism, I usually offer a proof. If I have no proof, I've already given you, you can give a reference of a customer, right? Or you can take a team who is working in the back end on solutions like test product team. You can take them and they can help you in talking to the customer, like in pharma companies, right? Many a times a product is on a test mode. And at that point, just a minute here. At that point, we may not have case studies to prove. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. What do? I simply, sorry, why is this? Are you guys getting feedback? Like an echo? Okay, I'm assuming no. So you can take teams who are working on the test product and talk about what are the current studies that are happening, what is a new test that is happening, or everyday information, like a clinical research study. You can show them that if you can. Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is easy. Just simply clarify based on the question answer they have given you. Yeah. If it's a drawback, I already said other needs are there. See if they can outweigh. Like for example, a customer had said that we want the highest level of quality in our product. One need. Second, they wanted a service engineer for the first 3 months on site in case anything goes wrong with your products. Third, they want to negotiate the price. Okay. What if the service engineer element is very high for them? They want it so that the instrument never fails. We could say, let's look at the bigger picture, right? You want a service engineer on the side so that there is ensured continuous productivity of the equipment. And we are providing you that with no extra cost. The second thing you ensured was the quality of the solution, and we have guaranteeing you a quality outcome for this product, the solution. Considering that, would you reevaluate the fact that our product may be slightly higher in price compared to the other code? But we are providing you these two, which will give you peace of mind, higher productivity, and longer revenue benefit in the long term. That's how I will try and outweigh a drawback. Yeah. So this is largely how you would resolve it. And then once you have resolved it, you seek your customer's agreement on it that did this make sense? Are you okay with it? Sealing the deal, right? Are they okay with it? If I gave them a solution for their pain point and then they said, okay, this is fine. So that's sealing the deal. If it's a skepticism, then okay, hold on this, getting the echo. Then I give the proof. If it's a misunderstanding, I've given them an answer. If it's a drawback, I've tried to outweigh. Very important to is to check. Very, very important. What if they're not okay with this? What if they're not happy with the answer? Then probably you'll have to ask more questions. Now, with all this in mind, what are some of the things you also have to remember, even though there are 4 simple steps? What are the other things you have to remember? You have to remember that all sellers have to be prepared when you go for a meeting. You have to expect an objection. Right? When we go to propose somebody, you have to expect a rejection as well. What if he or she says a no to me? Then what? Right? Just like that, go prepared. What if the customer has indifference? What if the customer has a doubt? And in what areas would they have a doubt? And in the meeting, when I go for the meeting, do I have proofs ready to give them? What misunderstanding could they possibly have? And what if they have an objection on price or on terms and condition or on delivery or on quality? Go prepared. So at least you know the enemy that is coming to, the showstopper. And therefore it will be easier for you to acknowledge, easier for you to ask questions, easier for you to possibly resolve the objection and therefore check for agreement from the customer. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Yash. Yeah. Preempt the question, preempt the objection. Think from the critical point of view. Assume yourself as the customer. If you can't do it, you're fresher in the company, you're junior in the company. Sit with somebody who is more seasoned within your organization. Sit with a manager. It will also show proactiveness, so both win-win, right? And that can also help you. So this is largely the part on handling objections. What we have covered and tried to cover in this time period is types of objections. When can they possibly arise? And the 4 simple steps that the ARC rule is: acknowledge, ask and uncover, respond and resolve, check for agreement.